discussing what I think the song means, and then talking about some interesting topics related to the song, like cannibalism and reasons I think people do that. And then I've also got these white gloves on and a mask because I also want to talk about the White Glove Society in Fallout New Vegas. They're cannibals, but I just think they're so interesting. And I like the lore. I like video game lore. And it's just very interesting. So yeah. And then we'll be talking about, let's get into it. It's okay. So the lyrics start. Looking for a well-built 18 to 30-year-old to be slaughtered, the master butcher. Today, I will meet a gentleman. He likes me so much he could eat me up. Soft parts and even hard ones are on the menu because you are what you eat. Hold on, I'm gonna move this, so I'm looking more straight at the screen, at the camera. Usually I do that before, but I forgot to just now. So we're gonna do that now. Alright. Okay, here we go. So yeah, restarting. Start. Looking for a well-built 18 to 30-year-old to be slaughtered, the master butcher. Today, I will meet a gentleman. He likes me so much he could eat me up. Soft parts and even hard ones are on the menu because you are you are what you eat. You are what you eat. You are what you eat. And you know what it is. It is my part. My part. No, my part. Because that's my part. No. My part. No. The dull blade, good and proper. I'm bleeding heavily and feeling sick. Although I have to fight to stay awake. I keep eating while in convulsions. It's just so well seasoned and so nicely flambéed, and so lovingly served on porcelain. And with it, a good wine and gentle candlelight. Yeah, I'll take my time. You've got to have some culture. You gotta have some culture. Culture. Because you are what you eat. And you know what it is. It is my part. No. 9. My part. No. 9. Because that's my part. No. Yes, it's my part. No. A cry will ascend. It is my part. Nine. My part, nine. Because that's my part, no. My part, no. And that is the lyrics to Rammstein's Mein Teil. And now we'll move on to what I think the song means. So we'll go back to the top. So, this is about a guy named Armin Meiwes. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. Armin Meiwes. Now, he was a murderer in Germany. He was a cannibal. And I want to get into this psychology of cannibalism and why I think people do it. So we can move the camera a bit now. So, the psychology of why I think people eat other people, and it has to do with attachment issues, loneliness. You are not alone. And love, as strange as that sounds, I think it has to do with love. It's really, really weird and interesting, love. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But, alright, let's get into the lyric interpretations. Then we'll get into the psychology and Armin Meiwes. And we're going to talk about Jeffrey Dahmer, too. It'll be an example to explain the psychology of it. And then we'll just end it off with the White Glove Society, something less heavy topic, a lighter topic. So, looking for a well-built 18 to 30-year-old to be slaughtered, the master butcher. So, that is what Armin Meiwes wrote on the Cannibal Cafe. It was a website on the deep web, the hidden side of the internet, the Tor browser to get to, and it was a website for cannibals to discuss cannibal things. Think Tinder, but for cannibals. The Tinder for cannibals. They probably also did food reviews there. They probably did food reviews. This thigh tasted 4 out of 10. Could have been seasoned better. This human arm, was a little bit dry. I cooked it a little bit dry. Anyway, so yeah, that's what he posted onto the Cannibal Cafe. And that's what those lyrics mean. Today, now this is speaking from his perspective. Today I will meet a gentleman. He likes me so much. He could eat me up, soft parts, and even hard ones. The camera keeps getting, I don't know why. Soft parts and even hard ones are on the menu. So obviously he's talking about human body parts, okay? He's talking about skin, and hard ones being muscle. And it's also got a little sexual aspect to it. But won't talk about that here. So, next. Maybe even means bones. Like chewing on a bone, kind of like a dog. Because you are what you eat, and you know what it is. planter, you are what you eat. I'm a human. If I eat humans, I'm a human. Self-explanatory lyric. You are what you eat. I eat humans. So I'm a human being. Then he says, it is my part. Nine. No, in German. It's a German song. He says nine. 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 It is my part. No. My part. No. Now, what I think that means, I'm a little bit confused, but I think that's his perspective. He's talking to the guy because Armin Meiwes got a guy to agree to be eaten by him. And he's saying, this part that I cut off of you is my part to eat. It's my part to eat. I think that's what he's saying. He's saying it's my part to eat. And he's telling him, nope, you're not going to eat that part of yourself. I'm going to eat that part of yourself. Then he says, the dull blade, good and proper. Now this is speaking more from the victim's perspective right here. Well, sort of. Armin Meiwes, I think, says the dull blade, good and proper. The dull blade, because he's the one cutting. Then this is speaking from the victim's perspective. I don't remember his name, but we'll see it in a minute. It says, I'm bleeding heavily and feeling sick. Although I have to fight to stay awake, I keep eating while in convulsions. So, yeah, he's been cut up. He's dying. They're eating his own flesh, and he's dying. And he's feeling sick. Because he's bleeding out, and he's in convulsions because he's bleeding out, he's dying. That's what it's about. It's a very intense lyric right there. And then this could be speaking from both of their perspectives. It's just so well seasoned and so nicely flambéed and so lovingly served on porcelain. On porcelain. 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 And with it, a good wine, and gentle candlelight, because you gotta set the mood. You gotta set the mood when you're eating something really good, you know, when it's fancy. And that's why I want to talk about the White Glove Society. They're fancy. Cannibalism seems to be something fancy. There is that in theater and theatrical interpretations of cannibalism. It seems to always generally be fancy, or it's like a hillbilly, kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre hillbillies. Those aren't fancy. But the billionaire class, the billionaire cannibal vampire class, they're fancy when they eat people. They eat with forks, and they take their time, and they enjoy the taste. So yeah, I'll take my time. You've got to have some culture. You've got to have some culture. You can't eat a human without having culture. Obviously, that's not something for the plebeians of society. Only the fancy of society enjoy the fine dining of eating a human being. Because you are what you eat, and you know what that is. Just going over the same. It's a creepy chorus. Repeat chorus. A cry will ascend to heaven. It will cut through hosts of angels. Feather flesh will shriekingly fall from the top of the clouds onto my childhood. Now a part of this just thinks this is just Rammstein creating some interesting lyrics. Nothing, generally to do with cannibalism. cannibalism here besides the ending part. So a cry will ascend to heaven. Rammstein, interesting lyric. Maybe he's just saying he's killing him. And that person's cries of pain ascend to heaven as they die. It will cut through hosts. It will cut through hosts of angels. Just an interesting lyric. Doesn't really mean anything in particular. Knives cut. That could be, so it's cannibalism and death kind of intertwined a bit. Feather flesh will shriekingly fall from the top. Feather flesh, flesh, he's eating flesh, doesn't really mean anything in particular here. Just interesting lyric. We'll see. I'll see if another person's interpretation can pull more from what that might mean. On to my childhood. Now that's interesting. That's very cannibalism. This gets into the psychology of cannibals. They do it. They tend to have this similarity of having abandonment issues and not being loved when they were a child. They weren't loved when they were a child. Whether by their fathers, mothers, maybe it be rejection, constant rejection when they were young. They went to school, didn't have a girlfriend, weren't able to make meaningful connections. Maybe they were, gay or lesbian, and their society rejected them. Like, we'll get into the case with Jeffrey Dahmer. He was rejected from society because of his sexual orientation. So, he ate people. Now, those two things don't seem related at all, but it'll make more sense later when I get more into it. After, in another article, they have severe abandonment issues. They're very lonely. They don't feel loved. Rejected from society by themselves. And it's a way, and this is my own psychology. I want to get into this. What I think a major breakthrough I've had in thinking about this, it's they do it because they want to be as close as possible to the person they are eating. You get into the physical aspects of love, being inside of another person. That's one aspect. But the other aspect, to take it even a step further than being inside, is to be literally one with. And when you eat someone, they become nutrients for your body. You absorb them. You literally absorb that person. And they become one with you. Now we'll get into that later. So, the childhood, it stems from childhood rejection, childhood loneliness, and unrequited love. It's very sad. It's very sad stuff. But it's part of life. And interesting. It might make you a little bit smarter knowing this. So, it is my part know, it is my part know that, and that's the end of the song. So yeah, this song is, now we're going to read some other people's interpretations right now. Then we'll get into the articles of Armin Meiwes and Jeffrey Dahmer and more of the psychology of it. Catchy song though. Yes, it is a catchy song. I love it. Mein Teil. I also love the instrumental. The instrumental's very good in this very heavy. Like, headbanging heavy. Like, I just listen to the instrumental sometimes by itself, not even with the lyrics. I do that with a lot of songs, but excuse me, I'm sorry about that. I'm feeling a bit hungry. I had to let out some of that. Yeah, I mean, they're all just saying basic stuff. Let's see. This song is about a case of cannibalism that recently occurred in Germany. Nine! Somebody put an ad on the internet in which they were looking for somebody to eat, and he found somebody. They met and the cannibal killed and ate the other one. The lawsuit took quite a long time since the victim actually was perfectly okay. That's the interesting thing about this case. He consensually agreed to be eaten by the other guy. So, do you think it should be illegal? Comment down below. Do you think consensual cannibalism should be illegal? If two grown adults, get together and agree to eat one another, do you think that should be legal? Let me know in the comments below. So, victim actually was perfectly okay with the fact that he got killed, and the judges were unsure whether to convict him because of the murder or not. In the end, I think he was convicted and got a life term. In an interview with Rammstein, I heard one of the guys say that he actually thought it was better to eat someone you know who agrees to be eaten than to kill and eat an animal. That's an interesting thought. It's better to. I gotta turn down the brightness. My eyes are burning here. It's better to eat a human being who consents to it than to eat an animal, because an animal can't consent. Think about that. A cow doesn't want to be murdered and eaten. A chicken doesn't want to be murdered and eaten. A deer doesn't want to be shot in the head by a hunter 100 miles away and eaten. You know, these are living beings too. Think about that. I eat meat sometimes, but that's a thought I have. I tend to eat more veggies. I prefer veggies, but even plant life is living when you think about it. Like, they've done studies on plants where they connect electrodes, and the plants literally like have their own electric language or whatever, and they scream when you cut them. So think about that. Plants scream when you break leaves and cut down trees. They literally are screaming because they're being killed. And then taking even a step further is the animals. Pigs are so cuddly, and they get killed. And chickens are so nice, man. It's making me sad, making me a bit sad. Anyway, I think I'm gonna take this. This is getting a bit tight. It's getting a bit tight. I'm gonna take this off for right now, and then we'll get back. If I can even take it off. Ah, God, I'm only making it tighter. Ow. Ow. Come on. Get off of me. Ah, Jesus. I want to tap on it. The White Glove Society. Found somebody they met as a cannibal. Has never been asked if they want to be killed. But yeah. The other people's interpretations, I already went over pretty much everything that they said. No new, I mean, the insight of what Rammstein thought of cannibalism and how it's better to eat a consenting human than a non-consenting pig or cow is very interesting. That's a philosophical thought. That's very interesting. I love philosophy. So now we'll get into the wiki of Armin Meiwes. So Armin Meiwes is a German former computer repair technician who received international attention for murdering and eating voluntary victim in 2001 after Armin Meiwes and a victim jointly attempted to eat the victim's severed manhood. We're not going to say that word. Meiwes murdered the victim and proceeded to eat large amount of his flesh. Wow. Just wow. He's convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 8 years. He only got 8 years. He ate another human being and only got 8 years. That's crazy. He ate another human being and only got 8 years. 8 years. That's crazy. He was convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment because of his acts. Okay, life imprisonment, though, so maybe he's still in prison. I don't know how it works in Germany. I don't know how the penal system in Germany works. The house where the event took place was destroyed in a fire that occurred early in the morning of April 17th, 2023. Wow, only a year ago the home was destroyed. So early life, this will be interesting. Maybe we could get a psychological understanding. Armin Meiwes was born December 1st, 1961, the only child of Waltraud Meiwes. He had 2 older half-brothers from his father's previous relationship with another woman. His father abandoned him. See? His father abandoned him when he was 8, leaving him to be raised by his mother. During sessions with police experts, Meiwes had explained that his desire for cannibalism related to the fairy tale of Hansel and Gretel. It's interesting. There's a fantastical element to it too. Kind of gets into with Jeffrey Dahmer's void speak too. He described himself as very lonesome. Cannibals are very lonely. They are very lonely. After the family had fallen apart. Bernard Brandes, that's the guy who consented to it. Bernard Brandes. He was looking for a willing volunteer. Meiwes posted an online advertisement looking for a well-bred 18 to 25-year-old to be slaughtered and consumed. Brandes answered the advertisement. Many other people responded to the advertisement, but also backed out. I wonder how many people actually responded. That's crazy. The two made a videotape when they met on 9th March 2001 in Meiwes' home in a small town of Westerfeld, Rottenburg, Germany. The video shows Meiwes amputating Brandes' manhood and the 2 men attempting to eat it together. That's my part. Alright. Slowed breathing, extreme tiredness. Brandes initially insisted that Meiwes should attempt. You could look up this case on yourself, you know. It's crazy. It's crazy. And he hung him up like a pig. If I was to be from a meat hook. A meat hook. It's crazy. It makes me feel sick. Even reading some of this, it's oh god, it's horrible. Arrest trial and manslaughter. Meiwes was arrested. College alerted authorities. Meiwes was a schizoid personality. I could believe that. Sentenced to 8 years and 6 months when speaking in German newspaper. Retrial. The burning of his home. The cultural impact. Let's see. Hey, they're talking about Rammstein. Mein Teil 9. Marilyn Manson also also, I guess, made a song. Let's see. Inspiration in the titling of his album, Eat Me, Drink Me. That's interesting. I love Marilyn Manson. He's got good music. Ozzy Osbourne, Ordinary Man, released album Ordinary Man in 2020. Song titled Eat Me. I'll have to look up that song, because I love Ozzy. Who doesn't love Ozzy? That's very interesting. I didn't know Ozzy made a song about him. Yeah. Alright, well, let's move. Jeffrey Dahmer. A journalist who interviewed Jeffrey Dahmer has revealed snippets of her harrowing correspondence. He said he chose to eat them because he wanted them to be part of him. He was so desperate, so lonely, and so ashamed of being gay. He wanted them to be a part of him. Oh, God, this is making me so sad reading this. Is it me? Wow. Because, honestly, I think cannibalism is the lowest form of desperation, lonesomeness, sadness, detachment from society, feeling separate by yourself, one, instead of with people. It's the very bottom of the barrel in psychology of loneliness and sad. It's the very bottom, you know. It's the crazy aspect, you become so lonely, so isolated years by yourself that you think eating another person and forcing another person to be with you is your only way to become one with another. And you know, Jordan Peterson, I like Jordan Peterson. I've heard him talk about it. You don't just wake up one morning and think, oh, I'm gonna eat somebody. It's gradual steps. One step at a time. It starts at childhood. Your mom says she doesn't love you. Then you go to school and you can't make friends. And maybe you get bullied too. And that creates a wrathful element. Roll. And that makes you want to force someone to be with you. And then for the fantastical side of it, you spend a lot of time alone, fantasizing about being with someone else, and not just being with them, but being one with them. The fantastical side of cannibalism is the side of saying, I will absorb that person's essence, that person's soul. I will absorb them, their nutrients, their vitamins, their being, their very being, everything that person was, their past, present, and future. You'll take the future away. You'll absorb their past and be one with them in the present when you eat them. That's the fantastical side in step 4, I think. So you got the parents' rejection, the rejection from school, from peers and bullying, the rejection from peers, bullying, that creates a more wrathful element. Then you got 4, the fantasizing, when they're spending so much time alone, fantasizing about eating other people. Those thoughts come in the fantastical side that leads them to not just think about it, but to then the 5th part, action. They take it from the fantasy to the action. They go actively outside into the world and then try to turn those fantasies into actions. we'll call it Josh's 5 steps to cannibalism. Take a child, reject them from their mother at birth and their father, and then put them in school where they can't make friends, and then get bullied, and then have them spend a lot of time alone just thinking about being with other people, and then they start thinking about being one with other people, being in other people, being inside of them, in their belly, and then boom, you got a cannibal at step 5. They're gonna go outside and try to actively look for someone to eat. It comes from wrath, lust, envy. That's what I think. Wrath, lust, envy. What was the 7 deadly sins are very important to understanding murder, I think. Wrath, envy, pride are the steps for a murder. But throw lust in there, and you got a cannibal. Because wrath is the action, the very action of murdering someone. Anger. You're so angry. Envy causes you to be angry. You're jealous of that other person. In the case of the cannibal, they're jealous of other people who have more friends and have social connections and have people to talk to. So envy, then wrath. Envy gives way to love. They say envy is the gateway to all other sins, and that's true. Then you got wrath. Wrath, the very action of the murder. Now, before that, you could throw in lust and gluttony, and you got a cannibal. Lust, because cannibalism is inherently sexual. It's sexual. It gives the people an aroused feeling when they do it. It makes them feel at one with the person, like they're connecting with that other person on a deeper level than they ever could, speaking to them or through sexual means. So envy, lust, wrath, gluttony, they're eating them. That's gluttonous. And then pride, because you think, the common person thinks, why would someone eat another person? Wouldn't that be seen as just obviously bad? Like you'll say, hold on, my phone went into a night mode, whatever. Like you'll say, isn't that obviously just bad? Like, ugh, it's disgusting, that's bad, that's evil. It's evil, I wouldn't do that because that's evil. Pride, the sin of pride is why people do evil things and think they're right. It makes them feel good. If you murder someone, if you eat someone, if you take someone's money, greed, and it makes you feel good, then it's not evil then to you, is it? Because evil is totally subjective. Evil is a totally subjective concept. It's not evil if you don't think it is. If it makes you feel good, how could it be evil? And when you spend a lot of time on that 4th step fantasizing about it, and the fantasies don't start out eating a human at first. They might start out like Jeffrey Dahmer's case, roadkill. The fantasies start with roadkill, and then they gradually turn into human beings. I'm sure when Jeff was young, he thought cannibalism was evil and bad. But as he spent years alone fantasizing about it, he worked his way upwards to thinking it was okay to eat another makes a cannibal, a murderer, feel good inside when they eat someone. Or when a murderer kills someone. It's pride that makes them feel good. Notoriety, too. That's the famous aspect, that's pride. They'll be famous. They'll be known to people. They'll be known. They'll be loved. They think. Pride. So envy, you're jealous of that person. Wrath, you kill that person. Pride, you feel good about killing that person. The cycle, the three deadly sins right there. It's the Trinity. It's a Trinity. Like a circle, it rotates. It's a cycle. That's also the aspect of murders, but maybe I'll get into that more one day. But this is more specifically about cannibalism, not just about murder. And that's the lust aspect. Being one with another person, to be one with another person. So he said he chose to eat them because he wanted them to be a part of him. I want you to be a part of me, so I will eat you. He was so desperate, so lonely, and so ashamed of his sexual orientation. So he killed 17 young men. Ate some of their corpses. Another interesting thing in the interview, he said he never really wanted to kill him, but he had no other way of subduing them and keeping them a prisoner to him. And eating someone is going to eventually kill him anyway. So, bit of flawed logic on his side, but yeah, he said he never wanted to kill him. The goal wasn't to kill people. He didn't hate people, he actually loved. It is twisted as it sounds, abstract a thought as it sounds. He loved the people he killed. He was so lonely that he wanted another person to be one with him through his fantasies that he had amassed in the years of loneliness and the childhood rejection. Yeah. And then they say, oh, shockingly, he looked normal. Well, yeah, I mean, cannibals are human beings too. Murderers are human beings too. Whether people like to admit it or not, cannibals and murderers are human beings. They were children. They just grew for cannibals, it's more of a loneliness and social isolation. For murderers, it's a hatred towards other people. And then it all kind of stems from detachment from society. So they feel detached, so they don't use empathy or sympathy to anymore relate to another person's suffering and pain. That's why they kill them. When they kill them, they don't feel that person's suffering or pain because they've years of detachment have removed them. Their social abilities in the brain have removed their ability to feel that empathy and sympathy for another person. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, they're not monsters. They're not werewolves. That's why I like werewolves. Because the cannibalism aspect of werewolves. They're not werewolves. They're not turning into creatures eating other human beings. They are another human being literally saying, tonight I want to be one with another person. And the only way I see that, achieving that, because I'm so lonely and I have no ability to go talk to another person. I've tried and it won't happen and they won't connect with me, is to go out and capture another person like an animal and then have my way with them by force instead of consent. It was odd. I mean, you can hear the way he's talking to me, thoughtful, contemplated, but he's a psychopath. And maybe he wasn't always a psychopath. Genetically, there is probably some predispositions at birth that make you more likely or less likely to become a Jeffrey Dahmer. But, I mean, honestly, I think anybody pushed to the right limit can become him. You take someone, you isolate them, you give them a mom and dad who just either despises them or despises their birth or just socially isolates them to the point where they become totally lonely and they can't find that escape from that with friends or family at school or in their family. Then you give them media, your thoughts of becoming one with another person, expose them to a lot of the sexual aspects of becoming one with another person, and then have them think about that day in, day out for years on end, and you'll get yourself a cannibal. I'll tell you what, you'll get yourself a cannibal if you do that. He says to me, I'm sorry for what I did. He doesn't even know what those words mean. Honestly, I do think, that reporter's wrong there. He is actually sorry for what he did. Deep down, Jeff understood what he did was, he took other human beings' lives, everything they could have been, everything they were, all their love, memories. He took it away from them. It made him feel powerful, and it made him feel fulfilled his lust and social isolation needs, but he understands deep down, and he might try to stuff it down when he was doing it, but he understands deep down that he took away everything those people could have been, all of their potential in life. So I do think he was actually deeply sorry for what he did. Comment below if you agree with that. Do you think he was sorry for what he did, or do you think by that point he was so twisted and abstract in his thoughts that he actually didn't, and he was just lying? I don't think he was lying. Wow, there's a train going by, can you hear it? Train. Don't know if you could hear it, I don't know if that mic's strong enough to pick up the train. He also tried to create a zombie, so he tried pouring acid in their brains, but it didn't work, it killed him. Obviously, but see, that's why he even tried not to kill them, but it would have totally impaired them and messed them up and ruined their lives, but he tried. He said, I did not enjoy doing that, that's why I tried to create living zombies with uric acid in the drill, but it never worked. He just wanted them under his complete control, so that's power aspect, that's the pride. Pride gives you power. When you have power, you feel pride. And being able to keep them as long as I wanted. That's the loneliness aspect. He finally has somebody he can keep to himself. His own person. That's a very lonely thought. It's quite sad. It's very, very these are in A1 sauce. Fancy. It's the fancy aspect. Eaten his victim because he wanted to possess them forever. That he only ate the men he liked because he wanted to become a part of them. Just going over the same thing I said before, to become a part of them. That's what it's about. It's very, 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 it's the most loneliest thought you can have, because you need to force someone, and you want to be a part of them. Totally forgetting about empathy and sympathy, that that person has their own free will and what they want to do. Now in the Armin Meiwes case, it's interesting because the other guy wanted to die and wanted to be eaten. So is that okay? Is that okay? It's a really interesting moral question. So how is cannibalism used to depict feelings of love? Is cannibalism an act of love? Funeral rituals often involving cannibal, and that's interesting. In Africa, some places have funeral rituals where they literally eat the dead. They eat pieces of the dead. In Papua New Guinea, for example, were known to have eaten the bodies of their deceased. The practice was seen as a sign of love and respect, preventing corpses from rotting or being devoured by insects. So they just thought, why let the bugs eat you? We love you, and we're human beings, we're gonna eat you. And I mean, this goes back centuries, okay? This was happening in medieval times. The force act of cannibalism is inherently wrong, obviously. That's wrath, that's envy, that's gluttony, lust, feeding your pride. So that aspect, that's obviously wrong. That's very wrong, because you're not considering the other person's consent. But if another person consents to it, is it wrong? Another person wants to not exist anymore and wants to be eaten. Maybe they actually do want to exist, but they just want to chop off their pinky and eat the skin on their pinky. Is that okay? Tell me below, psychologists. Psychologist. Tell me below. I have no idea. What was this article? This article digging into the heart of cannibal romance. Lust. Cannibals have saturated art for centuries, from Bram Stoker's Dracula. Let's get deep down. That hunger lives in us all. And I think that's true. I think the deepest form of lust, the deepest form of love is cannibalism. Literally becoming one with another person. Because if you're not eating another person, there's no other way to become one with them, literally. By literally, I mean nutritionally absorbing them. So in a way, cannibalism is the deepest form of love. We make films about their love, write songs about their horrors, craft TV shows that send us down their inhumane spiral because they speak to humanity's most primal. That's true, it's a monkey. The monkey brain. That's a part of the cerebellum. Cerebellum, the monkey brain. Monks talk about it too, the monkey brain. You have the outer, the fatty part of the brain. All of this, that's the human side of it, the consciousness. I'm sorry, I'm tired. I'm actually getting pretty tired right now, so it's getting harder to talk about all this. I'm very tired. Work a very hard job. That's very physical. And I'm very tired talking about all this. waves heavy. It's making me sweat. It's literally making me sweat. Sweat. This is crazy. And it's making my head hurt. My head is literally hurting talking about this because it's cutting down into the psychology philosophy of a very lonely, sad topic of but yeah, so you got the imagination brain, I guess, the contemplative lobes, the two lobes, and then you got the reptile brain in the back right there. That's the reptile, the monkey brain, the reptilian snake brain, the fight or flight. All it concerns about is procreation, lust, eating, gluttony, and satisfying its own needs to survive. And that's where cannibalism happens. That's where the thought of cannibalism gets spring from. Is the monkey brain, the snake brain, the reptilian brain. Because it's a very lustful idea. It's a very wrathful idea. The monkey brain is very wrathful. The ape brain. They refuse to deny themselves of their desires, taking their indulgence to the extreme. And that's what it is. It's the extreme. It's the most extreme form of love and being a part of someone else. In the fantasy, part 4 fantasy of Josh's steps to become a cannibal. We might cover our eyes when their gory cravings take over, but there's always an urge to peek out at their depravity. The only thing that separates us, people living under the social contract, and them, the breakers of that contract is restraint. That's true, restraint, because we have sympathy. You have sympathy, empathy. Before thinking about eating someone, you say, well, that person might have kids, that person might have brothers and sisters who love them, and a dog, and might have a loving life. So I'm not even going to think about that. That's horrible. I restrain myself from even thinking about that. My hunger, my lust, my loneliness, that all comes second to your rights as an individual, your rights as another human being occupying this planet we call Earth. Very interesting. Oh my God, I'm sweating because this glove. Goodness. It's making my heart rate increase because I'm sweating so much. The collective unraveling and restraint pushed by cannibal media into the really gory stuff, removing the pretense of civility. We're not. We might just move on. It's bringing me down. It's bringing me down. In the context of civilized society, Hannibal Lecter, that's interesting too, because he's fancy. He's fancy cannibal. He eats it with a fork. He's very fancy. I want to understand why media has portrayed cannibalism, because it's part of love, and love can be romanticized. That's why it is. Booyah. Boom. Just figured it out. That's why it is. It's the romanticization of cannibalism and love that makes it fancy. White glove society. That makes it fancy. Fancy. The romanticization of the sexual aspect of cannibalism is what makes it fancy. So we're learning more each day. I hope you learned something right there. And thus eagerly accepts the offering as a way to forever remain with the loved one. There you go, right there. Forever remain with the loved one. Booyah. I mean, the collective I'm sorry, I need some water. Got my water here. You are loved, you are loved, you are loved. Let me take a drink of my water, my water. Sorry about that, but I'm sweating bullets over here. That's another good song by Megadeth. Sweating bullets over here. Oh my goodness. And talking about this doesn't help. To forever remain with the loved ones. Yeah, that's what it is. They want to remain forever with the loved ones. It's about love. The deeply romantic idea is also brilliantly explored by preacher's daughter, blah 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 blah. Soft piano melody because it's fantasy. And you know, romanticization. You know, think of like the candlelight, the soft lighting, the rose. That's what it's about. It's the romanticization and it's a mating ritual that goes back to mating rituals like birds who do dances. It all has to do with evolution and mating rituals, the romanticization of cannibalism. It's very interesting. Being consumed is the closest one person can be to another. Yep. There you go. And that's true. Because literally, from a literal aspect, how can you be closer to another person? Hugging another person is not closer. Holding, cuddling, spooning is not closer to another person than literally having them inside of you. You literally become a part of them. Yep. And that's how thought among some couples is to, and this is particularly this lady, a thought of devouring her significant other. It's the deepest form of physical intimacy. There you go. An act of devotion. There you go. Just what I said. Josh's 5 steps to becoming a cannibal. There you go. That's how it happens. Cut her up and eat her like bread and blood at church. Walks a fine line between God and animal. Now that's interesting because God, in the song there was a religious aspect to it, and maybe that's the fantastical side. That's step 4 right there. That's step 4. Fantasy, the religious aspect of it, and religions often deal in fantasy. So whether you're eating someone because of God to be one with them, or you're eating them because you want to be one with them in the fantasy just by that self, or Jeffrey Dahmer's void, his void, suck you into his void. He thought of himself as a black hole, and he would suck you into his black hole. Becoming one, that's the fantasy. Harbor that fantasy of being one with another. That's how it happens. Accept offering and continue with immortality. Yeah, nobody's immortal. Even the cannibal's gonna die, so that's again with the fantasy aspect. Immortality, exist yet, as far as I'm aware. This isn't fair for democratic love, yeah, because you're not considering the other person's sympathy and empathy. You're not empathizing with that person. You're taking away everything they could be, which is why it's wrong. To level the playing field, both lovers to have equal ground, bones and all. This is the kind of love we don't look at. It isn't clean, chaste, or juvenile. It is heavy, obsessive, and overwhelming, and that's what it is. Fantasy. Spending years thinking about that heavy, obsessive, and overwhelming thought of being one with another person. Boom. Cannibal. Love's rage. That's wrath. That's wrath. Envy. Wrath. Pride. That's the trinity for murder. That's how I think murder happens. It's a trinity. Envy of another person. Wrath is the action of taking out that thought of envy, and pride is how you justify doing it. It makes you feel good. And then you go back to step one, and then that's how you murder a second person. And then just repeat that cycle. Third person, fourth person cycle. And yeah. We got one more article on this, then we're gonna get to the White Glove Society, and it ended on a more positive note, something, more fantastical. Something I'll enjoy talking about a bit more. 2001, a lonely computer technician. And that's kind of interesting, because I didn't even know this was going to talk about Armin Meiwes. But see, in this article, but it does. It says, in 2001, a lonely computer technician living in the countryside of northern Germany advertised online for a well-built man willing to participate in mutually satisfying sexual act. Armin Meiwes' notice was similar to many others on the internet, except for a rather important detail. The requested man must be willing to be killed and eaten. Meiwes didn't have to look far. 230 miles away in Berlin, an engineer called Bernard Brandes agreed to travel to Meiwes' farmhouse. There, a gory video later found by police documented Brandes' consensual participation in the deadly dinner. The cannibalism was both a shock to the German public and a conundrum to the German prosecutors wanting to charge Meiwes with a crime. Cannibalism might be humanity's most sacred taboo, but consent of a victim typically eliminates crime. I mean, if it's consensual, what's the problem, right? If they're consenting, what's the problem? Explains Emily Muscimilla, a criminologist from Italy who studies cannibalism and steer. More technically, cannibalism is not designated. I might send this video to her. I think she might like it. More technically, cannibalism is not designated as illegal in Germany's extensive criminal code. Until that point, laws against murder had sufficed to cover cannibalism. If Brandes had volunteered to give his own life, is Meiwes a murderer? Because of his victim's consent, Meiwes was initially found guilty of something akin to assisted suicide and sentenced to. And that's something I believe. I believe assisted suicide should be legal. Because there's people in a lot of pain and suffering, and suffering should cease. But let me know. Do you think that should be a thing, assisted suicide, down below? Meiwes would be out of jail by now. Instead, the upper led to the subsequent retrial where Meiwes was found guilty of killing for sexual pleasure. He will likely spend the rest of his life in jail. Discuss this. The idea of cannibalism might sound like a basis for a macabre joke about coffee break finger food. However, there's a serious cannibal scholarship taking place in many disciplines, says conference organizer. Blah, blah, blah. From contemporary horror film. Yeah, we've covered this. When the call for abstracts went out last fall, our first response was from anthropology. Come on. I wanted. This was supposed to be about medieval stuff. There we go. 100,000 years monkeys do it. Apes do it. There's apes eat their enemies too. Look it up. It's true. They'll tear their eyeballs out and eat them. Skin and then eaten by the Neanderthals 50,000 years ago. There you go. Neanderthals were eating people. Homo sapiens were eating people. We're eating people. The world's first cannibal incident, reported by multiple independent first-hand accounts, took place during the Crusades. That's crazy, the Crusades. Deus Vult. European soldiers. By European soldiers, these first-hand stories agree that in 1098, after a successful siege and capture of the Syrian city, Christian soldiers ate the flesh of local Muslims. Gross. Thereafter, the facts get murky. Some chroniclers report that the bodies were secretly consumed in wicked banquets. Look at that, they were having banquets. They weren't just like eating them off the ground. They were having a feast. Oh my god, my legs are so sweaty right now. Oh my goodness. Was done with the tactic approval of the military superiors. So it was the command. I gotta take the glove off. It's getting flipping too hot. The military survivors of the military. So imagine that your corporal comes to you and like, today we're gonna be eating our enemies. Yeah, our Muslim enemies. That's crazy. Barbaric act. Well, yeah, you betcha. Part of the problem was the cannibalism didn't fit in with European self-image in the medieval time. Military religious heroes were commonly depicted as cannibals or giants. Witches, Jews, savages. You know, I wonder if in World War II Nazis depicted Jews as cannibals. I wonder. Initially, little bits of pulverized mummies imported from Egypt were used in prescription against disease. So they were eating people to cure disease. That makes sense. You know, you're unhealthy. So eat the flesh of a healthy person. That'll make you healthy again. Makes sense to me. Makes sense to me. Actually, a little bit. Medicinal cannibalism. Medicinal cannibalism. Oh my god, my legs are sweating so much. I got a blanket over my feet. I gotta remove that. Oh my gosh, it's like a pool. It's like a pool down there. Human blood has remedies. Yeah, I've heard that before. You know, vampires, fantasy too. That's what that is. Vampires use blood to heal. And humans were doing that long before they thought of vampires doing it. Humans were drinking blood of humans long before even the idea of a vampire was created. While Europeans ate mummies, it's a big paradox. Noble said the term cannibal was being used to describe someone inferior, while the civilized Europe, blah blah blah. The word cannibal first entered the English language in the mid-16th century by means of Spanish explorers, says Carmen. 16th century comparative literature and culture scholar at the University of New Mexico derives from the Spanish world of cannibals, which was used in Columbus in his diary to describe indigenous people. You know, savages. It's weird. In medieval times, it was more associated with, I don't know, actually, there's one side. So you either associate cannibalism with total disgust, grossness. We could get into that. I want to talk about Nazi Germany one day, because they have a very into understanding why the concentration camps happened and the genocide happened. You gotta understand grossness. It's because Hitler had made that associated Jews with the idea of disgust. We'll get into that one day eventually, because I like psychology and talking about it. He had convinced the population to be disgusted with Jews. Thus, and Jordan Peterson covers this perfectly in a video. What do you do with things that disgust you? You burn them, you kill them. What do you do with rats? You kill them. And an interesting thing before the Holocaust was Germany had actually created a program to kill the rats in the industries with the same poison they used to kill the Jews. Because they associated the idea of disgust with the Jewish identity. Fascinating stuff. You know, fascinating. Just fascinating. Yeah. And that can get more into the idea of murder one day if we talk about murder. If you associate the idea of disgust enough with other people, it's an easy way to convince yourself that killing another person is okay because you don't even see him as a person. You see him as a rat. You see him as something gross that needs to be burned, that needs to be killed and removed from your clean human being standards, your clean white glove standards. Next up, cannibal gives the term to describe people in the New World. It was certainly sexier than the Greek and the Latin word anthropophagy. That's interesting. That's another word for cannibalism. Anthropophagy. Maybe help me pronounce that in the comments, please. Please help me learn how to pronounce that. Defines people in Asia which ate men. Wow. Because there's evidence that colonists exaggerated accounts of cannibalism. In the New World, some scholars have argued that all cannibalism reports in the colonies were fictitious, but the balance of evidence suggests some reports. Need to see what. Oh, don't do that. I want to see what my battery's at. Okay, it says American Southwest cites first-hand reports, reliable source cannibal practices among Mesoamerican Aztecs. The Aztecs were definitely eating people. I mean, they were cutting people's hearts out. Kalima. That's from Indiana Jones, not Aztec. But, same point. They are doing the same thing. One of the reasons cannibalism is so controversial is because we have a few detailed accounts of how it worked in society. One said survival cannibalism, and I mean, that happens too. There's survival cannibalism. You're out stranded, starving. That happened with 1972 plane crash in the Andes Mountains. Members of Sir John Franklin's failed 1845 expedition to the Arctic. What'd they do? They ran out of food. They were hungry. They were starving to death. So they said, you know what? We're gonna find the littlest guy. Yeah, that was funny. That's a George Carlin joke. I love. So if you get in a plane crash, I'm gonna tell you the George Carlin joke. If you get in a plane crash and you need to survive to eat, you resort to cannibalism. Who do you choose? Do you choose the big tough guy? He'd be harder to take down because he's got a lot of steaks and chops on him. Or do you pick on the weak, scrawny guy because he's easy to take out, but he doesn't have as much food on him? He's skinny. He doesn't have a lot of meat on his bones. So do you go after the big guy who's got a lot of meat to eat? Or do you go after the small guy because he's easy to overpower? It's an interesting joke. Accountability. Mortuary, the consumption of the dead during their funeral rites. Yep, we covered that in the Papua New Guinea. Apparently they also do it in Brazil, Peru, Peruvian Amazon. This is not, as we may instinctively imagine, morbid or repulsive. But it's not repulsive because they're dead. Excuse me. If necrophilia is disgusting, then freaking eating the dead is also disgusting. But it's dead, an act of affection and respect for the dead person as well. Oh, we respect them so much we're gonna eat them. You know, John was a really good person. He was the greatest guy, so I'm gonna eat him when he dies. And helping the survivors cope with the grief. Culturally accepted. And then, the fantasy side, we got zombies too. Zombies. Love zombies, werewolves, vampires. There's a lot of cannibalism in culture, and there's a lot of cannibalism. In movies and art and stuff. With dog titles, flesh eater, blah blah blah. I think we're almost at the end of the article here. Yeah, that's it. Let's see how it ended. One can only hope the covers. Bon appetit, fancy bon appetit. Alright, so now the White Glove Society ended on a more positive note. I'm gonna get them a bit more relaxed. While we end this. And we'll end with some plate ASMR. Bit more relaxed. The White Glove Society is a former revolt tribe employed by Robert House. Robert House is that interesting. You need to look up Fallout lore. It's so fun and interesting. To run and maintain the Ultralux and their cannibal cult. The tribe signed a contract. It's a video game. Tribe signed a contract to turn away from their tribal identity. So they told House, we will stop being cannibals and we will work for you on the strip in Vegas after the nuclear apocalypse happened. And but they won't engage in cannibalism. They lied. So they in the underground area of the Ultralux casino, they're still eating people. And it turns out Mr. House agreed not to divulge their tribe's former name. Their hotel is established. The White Glove Society pampers. I need to put on my white gloves for this. For the White Glove Society. This is the White Glove Society here, so we gotta have the white gloves on, obviously, for the White Glove Society. White gloves for the White Glove Society. White gloves for the White Glove Society. There we go, we got our white gloves on. White gloves for the White Glove Society. Little mask back on, if I could even fit it. Ow, that hurts. There we go, got our mask back on. Now we look like a White Glove Society member. So now we're part of the White Glove Society, and we love eating people. Would you like to join the White Glove Society? Would you like to join the White Glove Society? We love people here. We love people here at White Glove Society. We even have special plates. We have our own special plates where we enjoy the fine dinings of people on. Let's take one. We enjoy the fine dinings of eating people here. You are loved. pampers its clients and provides the Strip's most elite casino experience. The dress code is strictly enforced. They gotta wear the mask. They gotta wear the white gloves. Otherwise, you're not gonna be a part of the White Glove Society. You gotta conform to the dress code or you're not gonna be part of the White Glove Society, okay? You wanna be part of the White Glove Society, don't you? What is your name? Why do you think you should be a part of the White Glove Society? Yes. Interesting. And what part of our menu would you like to choose from? Oh, you want the legs too? Oh, we're all out of that. I'm sorry. We're all out of that. But we do have a finger salad and finger food. We got some finger food. If you would like some finger food here at the White Glove Society. Finger food. Who also serves as a manager? Marjorie is the manager. Mortimer's position in the casino gives him the responsibility of finding suitable candidates within the hotel and casino to abduct. So yeah, they abduct the people who come to the casino to eat them. That's how they get their food. Oh, people just go missing here sometimes. Oh, he left last night. Oh, you're an investigator. What's your name? What's your badge number? Oh, you want to know about, Pete. You want to know about Peter? Easy Pete. You want to know about what happened to Easy Pete? Well, we saw him last night. He came in, but he left really quickly. He said he was going over to Gomorrah, the Gomorrah Casino. He said he was going over to the Gomorrah Casino. And that's the last time we saw him. Excuse me. I'm pretty full. I ate a lot of food. Sorry about that. Would you like some steak? We got some fresh steak. And some Brahmin meat. We got some fresh cut Brahmin meat. You're an officer. You work for the NCR. So we want to treat you with respect. And we don't want you to. I should do my own video. I'm gonna do my own video on White Glove Society. But yeah, you're part of the NCR, and we don't want you to. Want you to feel welcome here at the White Glove Society. We have a lot of finger food, and make yourself at home, very comfy. And we actually have a hotel room just for you. Can you believe it? It's a free hotel room just for you. Totally free. One night stay though, one night stay. And you'll be gone tomorrow. White Glove Society sews itself above. My eyes itching. They see themselves as above the common wastelander, of course, because they're fancy. Of course, they're above the common wastelander. They're fancy. And yeah, I mean, as the player, you can destroy their casino, which is kind of cool, and expose them for being the cannibals they are. And yeah, that's the White Glove Society. I should have a top hat. I should have got a top hat. Put on a top hat, because we're fancy here at the White Glove Society. We don't show our face. We like privacy here. So yeah, anyway, that's the White Glove Society. I will probably make a video just acting as though I'm a White Glove Society person. That would be super interesting. And yeah. that they do. I thought it was very fun explaining why this happens. And yeah, like, subscribe. I will definitely be making more stuff in the future.